Revenge exacted. Brian T. City Ortega, he came back from a major layoff, shocked the world. Show he got that dog still in him after overcoming a weird ankle roll, some early adversity, almost getting 10-8'd in the first round. Still came back to get the submission victory. Brandon Royval, he also shooed away all the doubters from that last title shot that he got against Pantoja. Came in, split decision victory over a former champion, Brandon Moreno, in Mexico City. Folks, there was a lot of madness that went on to shake up the featherweight and the flyweights division, respectively, here at this event. And we're going to talk about all of it. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. My name is Derick G. I am your host. And joining me, as always, is my co-host, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native himself, AJ. Mexico City definitely could be considered a hit. Some interesting judging that was on deck right there, goes to show why we appreciate the Nevada State Athletic Commission. But my question to you is, what did you think? Mexico City, what was the turnout? 1 to 10, what do you give it?
1 to 10 on an entertainment level, Derek. I'm right up there at an 8 or a 9. I feel like this gave everybody from all walks of life in the MMA sphere something to look forward to, something to enjoy, and maybe something to be a little bit worried about as well. This was an entertaining week, I would say.
I definitely think it was entertaining, but there's going to be a longer, at-length discussion we need to have when it comes down to what we take advantage of or take for granted, which I do think are these UFC Apex events. This brought a big question mark in my mind that said, okay, we always say, let's not go to the Apex, let's go all around the world. And then you forget, from a wagering perspective, a lot of what we place our bets on are because we have an idea of how a fight is going to be scored. Now, when you find yourself in a position where you're in UFC Mexico City, every other fight's a split decision and nobody can come to terms on who won the fight, whether it was via control or via damage, that's when longer at-length discussions need to be had. Of course, AJ, we're going to have those in just a bit. As you take a look at the scoreboard below, folks, as you can see, I have moved to 20-10 on the year. My man AJ over here, 16-14. Long competition ahead, but what matters the most is that we did hit over 50% on the picks. That is the goal. That is the aim, as always. And listen, we got some stuff that we're fighting for. So without going so deep into it like we normally do, AJ, just know there's some shiny gold belts behind us. That's the prize. We want to win these belts. If we want to win these belts, we have to win the picks. If we win the picks, you win, we win, we all win. So if you haven't subscribed yet to this program, I don't know what you're doing. We're almost at 830 subscribers at this point, folks. So drop a like, subscribe, do the whole 9. But that's not what people are here for, AJ. People are here because they want to see. We gave some predictions. We said this is what's going to happen. Let's see, how we did. Let's pull it up. The big screen, you gotta love it. All right, man, lots of gold right here. As we can see, basically this is consensus picks right here. So on our consensus picks, we had Brandon Moreno, Yair Rodriguez, Daniel Zellhuber, Yasmin Jauregui, Manuel Torres. We went 3-2 on the consensus pick. So again, not where we want to be, but it is over the 50% mark. AJ, of all the times you could run the simulation in your head and say, all right, this is how these fights are going to go out, did you expect that our two headliners, our main event, co-main event, the people we probably had the most stock in, we were most definitive in, did you anticipate them losing in the fashion in which they did?
Anticipate them losing the fashion, Derek? No, not at all. Maybe the Brandon Moreno split decision, just because we know how gritty both fighters are.
Yeah.
But man, this was an interesting one to see how just everything unfolded in those two fights.
Absolutely. And folks, again, Ricky Tercios, Raul Rosas Jr., that was our contesting pick right there. That got canceled right before the fight. So that one didn't ultimately happen. I did hit on my prop. You missed on your prop here, AJ. You came damn close. I will tell you that. But let's move on over to the consensus picks. Just kind of open that one up. Again, 3-2. So that is the statistic that we got right there for you. And let's pull up this parlay watch right here, brother. Man, you came so close, and I want to talk about the controversial judging once again. This was another one because I tailed you right here. I was all in. I said Mendonça, Barcelos. It was a rough look for Barcelos, but he got the job done. Mendonça, I thought he did enough to win. He got a controversial split decision loss against Jesus Aguilar, yeah? And it just didn't quite go. And AJ, any thoughts on that one? Do you take this bet back, or do you say this was the right tracking? We just got the wrong athletic commission this time around?
Absolute robbery, Derek. Somebody grabbed the shiesty mask and the heater, because this one had me frustrated, especially because before it could happen, before the prop really started to take off, I thought Mendoza had this one locked. Barcelos pulls through. I got robbed with a parlay. It is what it is. Sorry, folks.
It's all right, but we did go 1-1 on our Bloody Water podcast parlays because we did hit on Daniel Zellhuber and Fares Ziam plus 100. If you cash that one right there, that's a nice little return. It's not the juiciest thing in the world right there, but for a two-legger parlay, you could have put $50 on that one and made a nice little return. All right. Finally, these props, as we mentioned, I hit on mine. You missed on yours, but yours, like the intention, the thought process behind it, everything was there, bro. But remember when we had talked about it and I talked about this matchup, though you favored in the distance, I said you have to consider, I don't know if this dude Prado will allow himself to get knocked out. You see that blockhead that he has on him? That thing is a unit right there. Again, intuition wise, do you think that if Zellhuber would have said, I'm not going to go golden boy tactics, I want to get my win, I'm looking for a finish, he probably could have got the job done, correct?
Ooh, probably, Derek. There was a couple times for sure where it seemed like Zellhuber was about to put it on him. But Prado, you got to give all credit to the granite chin that Prado has, man. He took a wallop.
That's it. And then, folks, I'm here to tell you that when we're looking at women MMA over 2.5, you're hitting there more times than not. But more important than that, you have a fighter in Yasmin Jauregui, biggest favorite on the card, right? Ultimately, she put herself in a position to where she says, hey, listen, comeback fight. I got knocked out in my last one. I'm knocking out my opponent. We know that's not going to happen, man. Sam Hughes on the other side of that. Sam Hughes is a tough outing. Over 2.5 hits, minus 200. I almost wish I would have went full in just on the decision right there. Either way, the streak rides to 2. So that is your prop lock recap, folks, right there. If you're not riding with us, clearly you're not making money because even though we didn't hit on everything, we hit on a lot of stuff right there. All right, AJ. So, with that being said, let's talk about some of the outcomes of these matchups that we just kind of witnessed right here, man. And of course, we're going to go through the big screen. We're going to come back, bring it back, all of that good stuff. And let's just start off with the main event, man. Brandon Royval, Brandon Moreno. When we take a look at some numbers right here, man, this is the thing that shocks me the most. The thing that shocks me isn't the numbers, right? It isn't in terms of Brandon Royval, 550 total overall strikes thrown out there. 177 landed. It's the low output from Brandon Moreno, man. That's the thing that concerned me. I felt like we didn't see the Brandon Moreno that we're normally accustomed to seeing in this matchup right here. Not sure if elevation was a major factor in that or if something else is going down. But when you're at 125 pounds, when we take a look at Brandon Moreno, and I'm not trying to bring in any excuses at this point, but we are looking at, it doesn't give us age right here, AJ. What's the stats? What's my man's age? 30 years old. Okay, 30 years old, 125 pounds, been in a ton of wars and all that good stuff. Once we start seeing some stuff like that and we see a performance where a decline seems to kind of pop up out of nowhere, my question to you is, what are you reading into this? Was this an off night was this an off night at the office? Yes. Was Brandon Royval just simply too good, too rejuvenated after that loss against Pantoja? Or was elevation just too much of a factor? I mean, what was your thoughts into what we just witnessed?
I honestly, Derek, think it was just an off night for Moreno. Usually we can see him being the one that's out working. You know, he's always moving. It seems like his normal style wasn't, I don't want to say subdued a little bit, but it did seem like just he wasn't able to get the right motion, wasn't able to get in the flow state. And credit to Royval, because a lot of that in and out movement, that style that Royval brings probably was messing up the timing a little bit. I'm sure the elevation had something to do with it, but either way, it definitely looked like it was an odd night for Moreno.
Yeah, and that's where I'm saying, man, it's like, I just want to know what the game plan was, because normally we see a wide arsenal of straight shots, hooks, uppercuts, the whole entire 9 from Brandon Moreno, right? Really mixing it up. Here, I thought I saw, can't really quite get to him, so I'm going to set him up with the big overhand right and just throw a million haymakers, follow it up with that calf kick on the outside, right? I saw that all fight long, and I'm like, okay, well, after a while, bro, he knows that's what you're setting up, and he got the read on it. Royval caught the read on it early, and he was like, okay, well, I know you're coming over with that big right hand, so I'm just going to slip, drop my shoulder, boom, slip past him most of the time. The biggest thing he had to worry about was his leg getting kicked out, which never really seemed to affect him the way that Moreno was intending to do so. Now, I made a big proclamation, AJ, and I said the reason why Brandon Moreno was going to become victorious in this matchup is because there is one kryptonite in Brandon Royval's game, and it's that he allows the takedown too easily. Well, AJ, I was wrong. Let's take a look at the stats. Now, I was right in terms of like numbers, right? 3 of 5 takedowns. Moreno still got the takedowns, but he was not able to control the position. And here is where we need to go ahead and take the accountability. Folks, I had a discrepancy in my calculations for my wagering. I talked about the elevation. I talked about Mexico City, 7,000 feet up in the air, right? But I didn't think about, well, if you're going to have a wrestling-based approach, if you're going to have a cardio-based approach, your performance is probably going to be diminished here at Mexico City. So it seemed like Brandon Moreno wanted to take the grappling approach, but just couldn't, man. He seemed gassed out there. Royval definitely seemed like the fresher fighter comes championship rounds, which is the most surprising thing because you got Moreno, who's fought 5 rounds 1,000,000 times since this dude has been in nonstop title fights. So what's your take on that, AJ? Am I reading too much into this? Was this just a bad read overall? What do you think?
No, I'm with you, Derick. I think the elevation had a huge impact right here, especially in those 4th and those 5th rounds when Moreno would normally get you to the fence, get a lock in, put you down, drag you down, and hold you there or work for a better outcome in the fight. But we saw Herb Dean having a couple times, literally just to be like, hey, boys, let's keep it moving, keep it moving. Might have been a little too fast for some. There was a couple times where Herb Dean, I felt like should have let him work a little bit more. But the vast majority of the time, it was Moreno holding on and just hanging on, gathering that breath. And that right there, that's why I said it just seemed to be an off night for Moreno, because usually he's a machine in there.
Speaking of Herb Dean, because I agree with you right there. Let me pull up the big screen really quickly. I felt this is a little accurate right here. Herb Dean, when he sees anybody going for a clinch up in the cage, he was a little trigger happy, bro. He's like, I don't care about none of that. Are you working? Are you working? You initiate a clinch. If you're not taking this man down within 3 seconds, you're stalling. I'm breaking it up. So if you're a Moreno better, you're upset because you're like, let my man establish his position. Like, if you're given the read of hurry up and work, or I'm going to break you up, you know that Moreno's going to try to take Royval down. So Royval enacts the takedown defense there. You're not giving him time to set up an element of surprise, a trip, anything like that, right? So long story short, I thought Herb Dean was a little trigger happy right there. Now, this is what we need to take into consideration, though, here, AJ. Let's look at this. Let me pull this up. I thought this was really interesting. Royval still, because he trains at altitude, look at this, man. He attempted 556 strikes at elevation against Brandon Moreno. That's incredible work rate. He only landed 28% of his significant strike attempts, but with that volume, he still outlanded Moreno 145 to 112. Just how do you keep up with this pace, bro? You know what I mean? When you're looking at like total outcome right there, he just gets better as the fight goes on. Let me see. Yeah, that's all they're showing right there. It still cuts off round 5, but he gets better as the fight goes on. That's kind of the whole entire point. With that work rate, which is pretty much kind of the argument that I was making why he would defeat Pantoja, if he can initiate you're not going to take me down, and if you do, you're not going to hold me down, are we back on Royval saying this is the guy that can make a run for the title? What do you think?
Back on the raw dog train, Derick. I mean, yeah, it seems like it might be this era. It seems like Royval has finally gone back to it. And I'm trying to remember correctly if when these two squared up first, if we bet for Royval, because it seems like he's gotten kind of back to that momentum he once had, Derick. And I'm going to say it's hard to fight Pantoja, especially because he does have that kind of style where he can keep it going for the full 25, but he has a lot better of a shot going into it now.
If I remember correctly, you beat me that week. You picked Moreno, you got the win. I picked Royval, and I lost off of the injury right there. Same type of situation, same mathematics we were taking. The only difference is that Moreno was not nearly as established as he is now. One more look to the big screen for let me see. It's not going to show it right there. There we go. So look at this. This is the post-fight. You know, Royval, he gets a little spicy, a little attitude after the fight, right? He says, I'm going to go ahead and take Pantoja's belt in his hometown in Rio de Janeiro. We'll keep spoiling parties. After I win that belt, I'll defend my belt in Denver, Colorado right here. So, AJ, give me your take right here, man. Listen, he came up short against Pantoja the first time. One thing that you definitely don't want to see, or at least I don't want to see, is a million continued rematches in this flyweight division where these guys just keep fighting each other and don't give any new life. Let's not forget about Amir Albazi, right? He's still in the picture. Do you think that Brandon Royval, if he fought Pantoja again, no matter where it takes place, can he get the victory?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Derick. Is it possible? Yes. Oh, yeah, 100%. And in fact, I feel like it'd probably be a pretty close either 5 or 6 split if they're fighting 10 times. Let's just see if it's not another one of those nights where where Royval is feeling himself and in that flow state, because Pantoja, more often than not, has something coming back at you.
Understood. All right. Well, with that being said, man, that's a big win by Raw Dog Royval. He have exacted his revenge right there, and we just got to see what's next, because they're saying that this sets him up for a title shot, which again just stagnates the division, and it makes it a question of, is that something that you want to see? Is that something that you want to see, AJ? Do you want to see these continued rematches?
Continued rematches, no, Derick. I think we need some new life, but I would like to see Royval get another shot for the title. So maybe 2 more rematches. I can't be too mad, but eventually I do think new bloods needs to take over.
Yeah, at a certain point, you gotta quit with all the rematch. It stagnates the division, man. And these guys can't fight every couple of months, so it just makes it really difficult depending on the outcome, ties, split decisions, all that stuff. All right, let's move on to the next bout: Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega. So there's context that goes into this that, of course, we're gonna need to pull up. So simultaneously, we'll jump in and we'll talk about the ankle situation right there. I'm gonna actually show you the ankle situation really quickly. So let me pull this one up. Okay, so yeah, Brian Ortega, he hurts his leg on the intro. And AJ, this was really odd to me because when you take a look at it, look at that. And he tries to play it cool. He's like, nah, I'm good.
At 146 pounds,
Oh, hold on,
G wins, 3 losses, 1 no contest.
There we go. I'll take the sound off right there. Look, he's just kind of like, okay, I'm good. Chill's trying to stare across the cage from Rodriguez. Like, nah, bro, I'm gonna put it on you, right? First off, first question: why are you jumping around like that in the intro, bro? I've always wondered that for these guys. I'm like, why are you so jumping up and down and doing all that? You're about to fight. You rolled your ankles. Now you look crazy. In the chances in your head, AJ, because there was a percentage in my head where I said they're about to call this fight right now. They're both in the cage and they're gonna walk out Chaz Skelly style, right? Like they're gonna call it. What were the odds in your head that was gonna take place?
Oh, it looked great, Derick. I'd say 60% chance by the way Ortega turned around and looked at his coaches and gives him that look of like, hey, something's wrong right there. I thought it was going to get canceled. I was worried, man. I was hoping it wasn't a knee. Thankfully, it was just a rolled ankle. I wish we had the top view down that they showed because you can see the toes folded under on Ortega's foot, and then that ankle just rolls real quick. I wonder how big and swollen the ankle is today.
Yeah, bro, that was a full-on rolled ankle, straight up playground style at the basketball courts, right? Like that was nasty. But for him to be able to be like, okay, coming off of all these nasty injuries, and now this happens, and Tracy Cortez is in the crowd watching me right here. I can't lose, bro. At this point, I can't lose. And then that first round happens, AJ, and Ortega gets it put on him. Gift and a curse again. My thought process was Ortega coming off of a layoff. Jiu-jitsu is sick. We know that. But Yair is going to be able to smoke him on the feet before he can initiate the game plan. Well, the problem is here, AJ, is that Brian Ortega is one of the toughest dudes out there. And Rodriguez had him all but finished in the first round. But what do they say? What's the classic phrase right there? If you go for it, you better kill me in there, right? Because if you don't, it's going to be a long night at the office. And Ortega didn't make it a long night at the office, but instead he did the same thing he did in the first fight, AJ. That blows my mind. It's like both of these fighters didn't evolve the way that you wanted to see them evolve. Brian Ortega, the boxing hasn't gotten much crisper since you saw him fight Alexander Volkanovski, for an example. Yair Rodriguez, the takedown defense, where it was almost non-existent right here, but this is what's most important here, AJ, is that we saw in the first fight, Brian Ortega got to the body clinch, and he just out-muscled him. I figured you felt his strength this time. You know you can't let him get to the clinch. Well, what does he do? He opens up on the strikes. T-City clinches him in, and it almost like he big brothered him to the cage, dropped him down, and then started the submission work right there, man. Were you surprised to see that? Is it a disappointing feat on the end of Yair Rodriguez, or was this just pure, unadulterated, fantastic performance from Brian Ortega? You got to love it from T-City. What do you think?
I can't take anything away from T-City because we knew that was his game plan. We saw that's how it was enacted in the first fight. It's up to Yair to do something different on this one. But no, I definitely take a lot of, unfortunateness or upsetness from the Yair camp because, yeah, you expected him to go in and do this. And you expected Yair to be able to see this thing happening and know to avoid it and know to not go to the ground or not get locked up in the clinch. And sure enough, it happens anyway, man. All credit to Brian Ortega for doing that. Because really, especially like you said, after that first round, after taking a whooping, after having all the cards stacked against you, he comes back and shows that true grit. You got to love it. You got to respect it. It was a hell of a performance by T-City.
It sure was, man. But let's take a glimpse into the future, I guess, or just into the overall picture. Where does Max Holloway fit in this situation now, AJ? No, seriously, because now the biggest thing is like, all right, well, who's Topuria going to fight? Now they're setting it up to be Rodriguez. They got this beef. I'm going to fight him anywhere. It's on site, right? Well, you just got beat up by Ortega, the dude who's, everyone's been making jokes of. He's been ranked number 4, hasn't fought in 2 years, right? Now, the question is, Max Holloway, again, going up to 155 BMF belt for Justin Gaethje. This was let's pull up the big screen. This was some takes, right, before the fight. So before the fight, Luke Thomas, if Yair Rodriguez wins, Topuria's first title defense should be against him. Holloway is like, hold on, bro. What's good? Y'all must have forgot, right? You forgot that I smashed everybody who was coming up trying to fight Volkanovski, right? Like, I am the unheralded champ. I'm the uncrowned champ right here. But this is before the fight. Now, after the fight here, AJ, this is Holloway's live reaction to Yair.
Beats Yair Rodriguez. Redemption for TC by submission.
Going through it. He's really just kind of here for a minute.
He walked through the
Listen.
early storm of Rodriguez.
Yair, oh man, he's just tough, but he always put himself some stuff.
And that's where it kind of ends. So, but basically what he says, he was like, bro, this dude Yair, man, he kind of does it to himself, right? He puts himself in these spots. And Ortega's submission setup was beautiful, bro. Like, I'm actually going to show you one final clip before we move on. But the submission setup was beautiful. The question is, Holloway, it seemed like he felt for him. It almost seemed like he had a vested interest in Yair being the guy that wins the fight. But what do you take from that reaction?
I take, Derick, that it seems like Max Holloway feels like Brian Ortega deserves a shot a little bit better. It seemed like he was rooting a little bit for Yair to get this, because if that's the case, then he probably has a better shot at getting it. I mean, I would love to see another Max Holloway, Brian Ortega. They fought before, if I'm not mistaken, Derick. I don't have the numbers up right now, but I mean, just to see Bless, they fought before, right, Derick?
Yeah, and Holloway put it. That's when he showed him how to block his head when he was just
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I would love to see that again, because then we really get the option to see if Brian Ortega has grown in the striking, or if he can use his abilities to actually do what he did to Yair against Max now.
On one hand, that makes sense. On the other hand, Holloway schooled this man so bad that rematch makes absolutely no sense. But I hear you. Let's take a look at this really quickly, man. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to pull this up. This is the last clip, and then we'll move on to, the next set of fights. But this is some of the stuff that I be talking about, bro. It's just pure drilling, man. When you do this every day. Says, you will not believe this, right? Destiny or coincidence. You got Ortega warming up in the back, right? Doing all that stuff. You're going to see him go through some progressions. We know this dude's black belt is sick. His jiu-jitsu is just fantastic. Some of the best jiu-jitsu in the entire division. But look, sets up the same exact nasty arm triangle right here. Same motion, just like you did in warm-ups right before the fight. Nothing different. Got the tap. Got the tap on both ends. Look at Yair. He said, that's it. I can't do it. He tapped in Mexico in front of his people. All of that. T-City put it on him. So my question to you here, AJ, is the same one for as Henry Gracie. Is that destiny or is that coincidence, man? You know what I mean? Like, this is, if you T-City and you just found God, man, you're saying God loves me, bro. He protected me in that fight. Like, we made it happen. Or you say, damn, bro, your jiu-jitsu is just that sick. What do you think?
I think it comes down to what's the old saying, Derick? I'd rather be lucky than good. Well, in order to be lucky, you need to put yourself in those kind of situations and train for it and be willing to sacrifice to get there. And I think it was a lot more of that hard work, dedication, and right place, right time. Brian Ortega, I mean, you can't, even if he was in that situation but didn't have the skills to actually get it done, it wouldn't happen. So you can't take anything away from him. But I do say that it was one of those divine moments coming for Brian Ortega.
That's it, bro. And if you want to get to that spot where you get that submission, you can't quit on yourself in the first round when you're getting 10-8'd. And that's the story of Brian T-City Ortega. Final screen on this matchup is the most featherweight submissions right here. Brian Ortega, he ties a bunch of people, Chas Skelly, Daniel Pineda, Makwan Amirkhani, but he's second right there next to Charles Oliveira, which blows my mind just given that Charles Oliveira left this division so long ago and he's still reigning supreme. But all right, big victory right there for T-City. Again, revenge exacted. We came up short when it came down from the betting perspective, but if you do, just kind of take a look at overall, man. Submission, T-City was pretty expected if you were going to win on his end. All right, man, now to just kind of rapid fire a couple of these. Daniel Zellhuber, man, this dude, prediction time right here, man. This dude right here is going to be him and Manuel Torres, which is interesting because they're both on the same card again. They're going to be really good, bro. I saw both of them fight on the Noche UFC last year, and they didn't have as impressive performances, but still pretty impressive performances and all that good stuff. These guys are going to transcend. I think these are going to be some faces of the UFC in a couple of years, especially Manuel Torres, but Daniel Zellhuber is right there on that fast track as well. What did you think, bro? Both killers, both babyface assassins right here. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. And honestly, Derick, I before this fight, I would have said Zellhuber has a better chance to be able to go further in the UFC. I might take that back now, man. Torres is an animal. This dude is really, really good. But for this fight, man, you got to give such credit to Prado, one for withstanding what he did, but also to Zellhuber for being able to calculate a performance where he's putting himself in danger, but also not getting hit too hard, or finding the path of least resistance, if you will. Because this was a performance where if he wanted to go in there, make a big statement, get a big dub, he could have easily went to sleep as well. This was a good one for Zellhuber to really learn and grow.
You take a look at some of these numbers right here, man. This is what's interesting. Zellhuber, he hits on that plus 220 decision. The TKO was plus 205, which is juicy right there. But when we were kind of looking at this matchup, of course, that's what you were looking at, because you were looking at inside the distance right here for Zellhuber. Or, I mean, just kind of in general, right? But more importantly, if we take a look at some of these numbers, it goes to show that they think that this dude, Zellhuber, especially in this matchup, he was just juice all over the place, man. Is it not surprising that he opened at a minus 265 favorite. He closed at a much higher rate, but is it almost surprising? Like, do you feel like now you guys need to put way more respect? Are we going to have to start paying a way higher price for Daniel Zellhuber here in the future, coming off of a massive performance like this?
If we see it jump up, Derick, I think it'll be maybe around that 300 mark, but I think 250, 260 is a really good price for right now where he's at and the kind of level of competition he's fighting. Because once that jumps up, we'll see if they keep him at that big of a favorite.
Yeah, we definitely will, man. But there's something more important about this matchup that we need to talk about, and that's the corner work of Francisco Prado. Super tough dude, right? They weren't giving him a ton of technical advice, really. It was more heart, guts, and just grit. Go out and get it, man. If you're really about that life, then you're going to go get it. But I have a question to you, and I know we enjoy somebody here on this program, the Count, Mike Bisping, right? And he goes to show that he's an exemption to the rule. But when I ask you this question, AJ, you got to give it to me straight. In fighting, right, if somebody is in, the squared circle with you, whatever the case may be, the octagon, you probably need your eyeballs to be able to see what you're hitting, right? What's Muhammad Ali's famous saying? He says, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. The hands can't touch what the eyes can't see. What the eyes can't see, you need some eyeballs right there, AJ. I'm pulling this up. We're pulling up the big screen. Francisco Prado's corner has some next level corner advice right here. You don't need your eyes. Let's just play it.
You do just go for the center, okay? Just you don't need your ice. Listen. Always against the fence. It's 1-to-1. This is you understand me?
I don't understand. No, AJ, I'm going to play it back one more time right here, and I want you to give it to me straight. You're in the corner. You're life and death right here. You can't see. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what round it is.
You do just go for the center, okay? Just you don't need your ice. Listen. Always against the fence. It's 1-to-1. This is you understand me?
That look that he gave him right there, that split-second look that he gave him when he said you don't need your eyes was almost like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? All right, I'm just going to keep it pushing. I don't have the mental energy to even think about what you just told me right there. Francisco Prado, this dude is tough as nails, man. Young, I think he's like, I don't know, he's early 20s right now, young. This dude's a stud. He's going to be really good, right, given his skill set. But especially, and the durability and the toughness, but corner work like that, man, where does this belong in the MMA space? Does this belong in 2024 MMA evolution of what we have now? This seemed to me something out of like the 1990s of just like, you don't need your eyes, bro, just go. I know Bisping's like, bro, you only need one eye, it's all good. But like, what do you think?
No, Derick, I mean, there's definitely two schools of thought of this one, because do you need your eyes to fight? Absolutely. Do you need them to stay safe and make reads and block and things going? Yes, he does. But is this just a fighter who's finding himself on hard times and trying to find an excuse to get out of the fight? I don't think so. I mean, like the Prado, we saw how willing and durable he is, but sometimes when you're coaching an athlete and they're just saying things, oh, my toe hurts, my this, my that, it's the body looking for ways to get out of this one. Although to that point, yes, you do need eyes to fight, man. If I'm in that situation and my coach tells me that, yo, you don't need eyes to go out there, I'm done. I'm not taking any more advice from you, because it seems like you have zero care for how hurt my safety is. You know what I'm saying? It was a crazy comment.
Yeah, man, and I get the sentiment. The sentiment is that, listen, don't quit on yourself, bro. You don't need that. Just go out there, be a warrior. But my thing is that in that situation, give that and then give me some technical advice on why I keep getting hit in that eye. You know what I mean? Show me to duck. Tell me, hey, listen, bro, that left hand is chewing you up all day. You got to stop. And you don't want to ultimately look like this, right? That's not the look that you're going for ending a fight. So this was actually the last question before we'll move on. This was just a fantastic performance. Clearly, it was worth it because my man got a fight of the night bonus, $50K. So it helps out. But the conversation that I was having while the fight was going on was, all right, you look like this, you come to this event, you traveled all the way to Mexico. It really wasn't that bad, right? But you travel all the way to Mexico, you show up and you get half of your paycheck. these are the fights where you have to question, is this thing worth it? Like, how much are you getting paid? We don't know. I don't know what number it is, but I was going to take a guess. I was like, let's say half of your purse, you got like 20K, right? Is this worth it, AJ? 20K.
That 50K bonus sure helps, but no, Derek, 20K, paying for all your coaches, paying for all your flights, paying for your medical bills. Maybe the UFC helps them out on medical bills. I forgot if they do. But either way, man, that is quite the price to pay for going in and basically taking years off your own life.
Yeah, that was my thought process too. But then I heard he got the 50K. And I'm like, all right, well, listen, we're talking about 70K. I mean, you made a year's worth right there, bro. In one fight, rest up. You'll be good in a month or whatnot. Your face will, all that swelling will go down. You're good to go. Listen, big win by the Golden Boys, Daniel Zellhuber. And then as we proceed on along right here, man, let's see. Yeah, Yasmin Jauregui, she had a fantastic performance against Sam Hughes. I really don't have a lot to say on this one other than Yasmin Jauregui is a fantastic prospect, bro. She's really, really, really good. Like, really good. She deserved to be that minus 600 or whatever favorite she was, biggest favorite on the card. I still didn't see any value right there, but where I did see value, which I did not bet on because it still wasn't value enough, was minus 145 Yasmin Jauregui to win via decision. That's a better price to pay than minus 600, but at the end of the day, my biggest thing was the cash out that we hit on over 2.5 rounds between Jauregui and Hughes, which was minus 200, and to me, I felt like that was a layup. It should have been a much higher price. I'm talking about minus 400, minus 500 type, situation for it to go decision. Do you have any thoughts on this matchup right here, either from the Hughes camp or the Jauregui camp?
I think the only take on this one, Derek, that I have is because this was a great fight for both women. I mean, you got to respect Sam Hughes for sticking with it and Jauregui for actually putting it to her and staying there the entire time. But my big thing is how does Jauregui go from just this level of style of fighting decisions, having hard outcomes, to really making that star? That's where I'm excited to see how she makes that happen in her own camp.
Yeah, and I think it's just going to be with the bigger matchups right here, man. She was on a path, on a trajectory, got shut down by Denise Gomes. So this was more or less of a get-back fight, right? This was one of those like, hey, let's get you back on track against a tough fighter, right? Sam Hughes, she's been spoiling people's parties recently right there. So that's why I think this matchup made sense. But I think give it a couple more fights and we might be seeing top 15 opposition, across the cage from Yasmin Jauregui. All right, let's move right on along to the opening bout right here. In this one, there wasn't a lot right here, but I said it and I'm going to stick to it. Don't play with Chris Duncan. This man is tough, and he rocked Torres early. But it seemed like it wasn't enough because that was the only shot he ended up landing right there. Torres came back with 5 of his own, got a takedown and got a submission, and it was a beautiful thing to see. El Loco Manuel Torres, this dude is fantastic. This dude has star written all over him. It emanates out of him. You know what I mean? Like when he comes into the cage, when he fights, you just see something different, something special in him. Now, the only thing that concerns me, man, is that this dude is on a Shavkat-like tear right now. 15 wins, 14 finishes, 14 first-round finishes right here, AJ. What is the ceiling for Manuel Torres? I know we kind of talked about it with Zellhuber right here, and you alluded Torres might be the guy with that power, but what do you think through and through? Is this a champion in the next couple of years?
Ooh, next couple of years, Derek. I mean, especially if Torres keeps up the pressure, keeps up the way he's going, and keeps up these finishes, it's hard to not say he's going to see a championship near in his future. But at least for the next year, maybe 2 years, I'm thinking we're going to see this dude in the top 10, top 5. Man, even up there, like I'm saying, number 6, number 7, right about to be that top 5 cusp. Because if he keeps fighting 3 fights a year like he is right now, getting all first-round finishes, man, it's going to be very hard to deny Torres in the future.
You got to keep finishing people, though, right? And that's when we start saying what happens when you fight the guys that could take you to the decisions. What is that energy? What do those reserves look like in rounds 2 and 3? We'll never know for now. We'll see on the next run because Torres is on a hell of a run himself. Fantastic win right there. And with that being said, that is your main card betting recap right there. We hit on Manuel Torres as well, of course. 3-2 on the consensus picks again. We just missed on the big ones, Ortega and Royval right there, but we will live to fight another day. And AJ, with that being said, we move on to some news and notes. So we covered a lot of what I wanted to cover, some of the, the clips, the viral stuff that went on, but there were still a couple of things. And there was one thing that we haven't talked about in detail yet, and that's that Raul Rosas and Ricky Tercios are one contesting pick right there. It never happened because Rosas fell ill on fight night. So when we take a look, let's just kind of pull it up. I guess this is the picture of Rosas pulling out, warming up or whatnot prior to the fight. Clearly, the dude's not feeling good. Now, what's tough is that there's a lot of hype on him. He talks a big talk, and now he has entered that kind of Ian Gary level of, you talk this craziness, but now you pull out, and now it's a bad look. Now social media is going to be putting it on you, right? Now you're going to be hearing all of these voices from outside critics talking about you're not the real deal, when really he's shown us that he is nothing but the real deal thus far in his short career. Now, we see this image. Unfortunate news announced on the broadcast, and then we get the final actual announcement. It's canceled, right? Boo, bummer. He wanted to fight in Mexico because he has family who couldn't afford to see him fight in the United States. So that sucks just across the board. Now we get a little bit of insight. They say Raul Rosas Jr.'s father and coach, Raul Sr., he shed some light, right? So this is ultimately what we got here. Let's see. So to all the people asking what happened to Raul, he was feeling lightheaded, dizziness, and had low energy. He still was ready, had his gear on, and didn't want to pull out of the fight. He was still going to go out there and fight, but we as a team didn't let him go out there. His health comes first, and if he's not 100%, it's not worth going out there. Right now, he's getting checked by the doctors. Thank you all for your support to Raul. He will be back. And then we finalize this, AJ, with Dana White announcing, hey, guess what? You're fighting next week, buddy. So another weight cut. Get up, do it, and who's to say? My whole thing is Ricky Tercios, I hope he got some form of compensation, because this is a Stephen Wonderboy Thompson situation on our hand. All right, question time, AJ. Now, we get an explanation. It's a pretty clear explanation. Team says, yeah, you're not medically fit to perform. We're going to save you from yourself, and we're not going to let you compete. I think that's very responsible, especially since this dude's 19 years old. Come on, bro. You got a long career ahead of you. I don't think that's the opinion of the brass, though, of the UFC or of just MMA fans. I think they're going to get a lot of hate going his way, talking about you're scared, you didn't want to fight him, pull out merchant, that whole entire nine. What camp are you in, man? Are we the reasonable camp, or are you saying, nah, dude, listen, you up there with the big boys in the UFC, this is not going to go lightly for you. What do you think?
At this stage of the career, Derick, of Raul Rosas Jr., I think they made a very smart call. Keep the hype train going. Yeah, you had a bad bout, blame it on some illness, whatever the case is, because Ricky Tercios was a hell of an opponent that he might be able to, or Ricky might be able to get one on him. So I do think there's the insufficientness or insecurities of the MMA crowd that's going to be talking shit, that's going to be having there. But I think, especially, like you said, 19 years old, still the ability to be on a run and still have that star power. You don't want to send him out there less than and have something bad happen, or have him just get demolished and then all the hype's gone. Now your paychecks are gone. I do think they made a smart call, one for fighter safety and obviously his own kid. I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it like that, but also just for the career path that Raul Rosas has a lot of potential to have. I think it was a smart call.
Yeah, and I think that if you really want to take everything into consideration right here, man, you do hear about this sometimes. You go to a different country, and I know this dude's like, he's been in Mexico, so it's not like this is some foreign land to him, but you go to a different country, you might be drinking the water that's a little different, or eating food that's a little bit different, and you might get sick. He's the only fighter that it happened to on the card, so that's where the suspicion comes in. But again, I agree with you. This was the correct play. You have to have special circumstances. This kid is 19 years old. Like, come on, let's think about the longevity right here. So I'm just excited for them to run it back. The only thing that I hate is that they have to cut weight again, and now this complicates the betting edge here, AJ. The betting edge now turns into, what do these fighters look like on 2 weight cuts in the span of 2 weeks? You went from high elevation back down to Vegas. It's going to be interesting. But let's bring it back on over to the next thing for the news and the notes right here. AJ, another interesting event went down here. It wasn't just UFC. We had Bellator versus PFL, the champs versus the champs, and what do you know? Bellator almost gets the clean sweep on PFL, 5-1. As you can see here, and I'll pull it up a little bit larger for those who want to take a in-depth look. You can see, or actually, let me just scroll down. There we go. Okay. AJ McKee gets a fantastic submission victory over Clay Collard. Yoel Romero still doing it. Gets the win over Thiago Santos. So, I mean, you got a UFC matchup right here pretty much. Vadim Nemkov over Bruno Capolosa. This dude is probably the best guy in this division right now that you could ask for. Vadim Nemkov. That dude is good. Jason Jackson, he beats up Ray Cooper. Johnny Eblin suffers some early adversity to Impa Kasanganai, right? What a comeback, man. This dude got viral KO'd by Joaquin Buckley. Now he's over there representing PFL. And then finally, Hanan Ferreira, he just kind of slaughtered Brian Bader. That wasn't very good. Here's my whole thing. Co-promotion. I don't know if you noticed, AJ, but remember when they were showing, do you remember on the broadcast last night, they were showing Michael Venom Page, his little like briefing, right? They didn't show any Bellator clips. Did you notice that?
I did actually, Derek. Yeah.
And the reason that I bring that up is because UFC does not seem to be a fan of co-promotion whatsoever. So they're like, why would we co-promote with Bellator? Give them a shine. Look at this. Pulling it up again. What was the point of this co-promotion? All you did was just show that PFL has inferior talent to Bellator, who is non-existent at this point, who doesn't, I mean, they got bought out, right? So PFL is lucky to acquire the talent that they got from the champions of Bellator, but through and through, I think that this was a very clear display. Once again, UFC is here. Everyone else is just not quite up to par right there. At the end of the day, you want to be in the UFC. That's where the best talent in the world is. That's why the champions from all the other, promotions, they're coming on over here. So with that being said, what do you think on that? Co-promotion, good thing, bad thing? Should the UFC do it? And is any organization going to put themselves in contention with the UFC within the next 5-10 years?
I don't think anybody's gonna even be close to getting there or doing a deal with UFC, Derek. I think co-promotion, if you're on the UFC side, absolutely horrible, because then you have the chance of going with somebody who's going to drag you down or somebody's going to have a bad outlook. But if you're on the other side, if you're PFL, if you're looking to get on there, jump on like a UFC Fight Pass or something like that, that co-promotion helps you out a ton. I just don't think Uncle Dana sees that the juice is worth the squeeze of helping somebody out, reaching down and pulling somebody else up to the upper echelon. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. So again, it was just a rough look, man, especially when you're like, I'm going to do it the day of the same card for the UFC. And then you just see it was weird. Timing issues, pacing, everything was just weird. UFC definitely the superior product. All right, AJ, UFC 306. I said 300. I don't know why. Let's move that to 306. Announced for September 14th. And this bums me out. This is a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing. 306 is now Noche UFC, so there's no more Noche UFC. That's normally a fight night, right? I went to the one last year, very affordable tickets. Brother, no one's going to be able to afford going to the Sphere. That's not going to happen right there, but I do think it's cool that did get announced. And then, they're doing it for the annual UFC Noche. However, we're back to Mexico right here, because the UFC has a new heavyweight prospect on their hands, AJ. So here's the first look. Look at this. Look at my man right here. You see that guy? Look at that right hand. Ooh, caught him. Oh, look at left. Left is what put him down, but he's not done. Give him another left. AJ, he just dropped 2 dudes nonchalantly, then puts the cap back on. It was all like, listen, bro. All right, let me get back to it. But we're not done. We have a better clip. Look at my man. Where's he at? Look at that left hand. Was that the second one? Oh no, that's the second one. And then just puts the hat back on. No, it's not. He's like, all right, y'all, what y'all trying to do? Look at how casual my man is. But he's still recovering. What just happened to me? Damn. Look. What you trying to do? What you trying to get into? And then he walks away. Listen, UFC, did we just find a new heavyweight contender right there in the UFC Mexico crowd, AJ? What's your thoughts?
Man, this was wild, especially because he didn't even load up on the left hand for the second guy. He just threw a meat mallet down the hallway, and that guy's poor chin had to eat it, man. This was a crazy one, and I think what made me not excited, but enjoy this, because it's always crazy when there's a brawl in the crowd. We love brawls over here, folks. But Dana White, he goes, it was the craziest thing he's ever seen, because they had no security. They just fought it out until they were done, and then went back to watching the fights. You gotta love it. That's La Raza crowd going ham. You got arguments, you settle them up, and then you go back and grab a beer.
That's like you kicking it with the boys, watching some fights, right? You get into a disagreement. We're not going to call the whole thing off. We came for some fights. So let's get this thing on out, and then let's go sip a beer and have a good time. You know what I mean? So shout out. And you got to love that too, because you got to love a good old-fashioned scrap where you say, all right, listen, you got me, bro. We're good. You know what I mean? We don't need to, I'm not going to come out with a knife. I'm not going to come try to shoot you. Like, we're good, bro. All right, man. Let's see what else we got. This one near and dear to us closely, because we talk about this guy a lot. The triple cringe. He is not done. We should have expected this, AJ. We should have expected it. I gotta pull this up, man. So this dude said definitively, he said, hey, listen, if I lose to Marab, if I can't beat him, I'm done. I'm retired, right? And now he comes back with saying, listen, bro, I just can't let it roll like this, bro. I just can't, as much as it hurts. I take the L, but I can't take the L knowing I pretty much went out the way that I went out, right? So here today, I'm taking my word back as a man, confronting you guys, you the people, you my fans, you my family, my friends, the haters. I can't go out like this. To say the least, it's far from over with the triple C, the triple cringe. AJ, you lose all trust, respect, and credibility when you start pulling stunts like this, but he's the triple cringe, so that is to be expected. My question to you is, You get over the hill. You retired on top. You come back. You're over the hill now, apparently, at least fighting the top 1, 2, 3 guys in the world in your division. What can he do that will not continue to tarnish the legacy of what Triple C was by continuing to fighting? Like, I feel like there's no positive outcome that can come from this. What do you think?
There's no positive outcome on this one, Derek. The cringe dies hard, apparently, because if you think about it, like, all right, what can Triple C do to really make a statement and retire on top? He's going to have to go on a finishing streak, just absolutely mauling people left and right, dominating the fights from the jump, and going to no decision in the next, 5-6 fights. That's not going to happen. Like, let's be real. That's not going to happen with the style of fight he has and the weight class he's in and the talent that's around him. I just don't see it happening. And it seems like there's such lofty goals to want to get back to where you were. It's just, I don't see it.
It feels like this new chapter, because he's now the new generation. He's fighting these new generation guys. You beat Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. That aged so well. You defended your belt. You got another belt. And now for what? Now people aren't going to be looking at, he's the Triple C, 3 medals, he was, smashing everybody. Now it's like, well, you got picked up and carried across the cage, bro, by Merab. Who can you fight now? They're not going to give you 1, 2, 3. You're only going to fight down. There's no point. The only thing that I can see him doing is saying, I will fight one more fight, have a really good performance, and then call it a quit, knowing that I won, knowing that I went out my way and I won. But, what happens when you lose? What happens when you go Tony Ferguson style? And we should have brought it up. I should have talked about that. But same thing with Tony Ferguson. I didn't put it up because it's too sad. He's like, bro, I'm not retiring. He's like, fuck all that. Y'all want me to retire? Fuck that noise. I'll retire when I want to retire. It's going to be 10 losses later. He's already tied or beat BJ Penn's loss streak when he went out. So again, we don't discount BJ Penn. We don't know BJ Penn sucks, but it's Michael Jordan on the Wizards at this point. AJ, we can't stand for this nonsense. I mean, listen, if you were going to put any words out there, what is just your opinion? Do you think Triple C should hang it up right here and preserve whatever legacy that he has? Or do you just say, let the show unroll, man? This is what the Triple C, this is what you buy into when you started the Triple C legacy. This is the way that you got to go out now.
Yeah, I mean, it is the character. It is what you bought into, but I do think Triple C needs to become just 1C. Coach Cejudo, I guess double C, however you want to phrase it. But Coach Cejudo will have such a better longevity and storyline and just length of having, you could have champion after champion after champion under you, but yet you're still just so focused on the cringe and the Triple C that's what you want to be. It doesn't make any sense to me over here. I know I'm rhyming now, but either way, I do feel like Cejudo would be much better fit to stay long-term in the game as a coach versus somebody who's trying to continuously climb that mountaintop.
Sounds to me like he should take the Coach Khabib approach, right? And just say, listen, I have no interest in the fighting, but now everything is dedicated to my athletes and continuing my legacy as a coach. So it's completely understood. All right, AJ, last piece on the news wire right here. Potan, he says, hey, listen, I got the call, UFC 300, no problem. Jamal Hill, I'm going to smoke him, and then I'm going to go on, and I'm going to actually defend my belt again at UFC 301 on May 3rd. That is a 3-week turnaround right here. Of course, Jamal Hill says, I will not stand for this. You're a crazy man to think, 1, that you could beat me, 2, that if you do beat me, you're going to go out unscathed and be able to turn around in 3 weeks. So unparalleled confidence for Potan, right? The light heavyweight champion right now, who is kind of crazy because it's like, you haven't defended yet, bro. So it's like, all right, but shout out. What do you think, man? What do you think about this whole scenario? Is this too much bravado? Is this just us taking something out of context? What's your thought on the situation?
I love the confidence, Derek. I love the confidence because there's one guy who's proven that he's able to get it done, do what a lot of people think is impossible. It's Paeta, man. And I'm just excited to see how much anger and how much comeback Jamal Hill has for this comment, because if somebody's already planning their next fight after we have one scheduled, you must not think very highly of your opponent. So I'm expecting Jamal Hill to really come out and get some knuckles to work.
Listen, bro, when you a two-weight glory kickboxing champion, 2-weight UFC champion, you do whatever you want at this point, bro. So shout out to Potan, man. I just think it's funny, man, because it's like whatever he does, it doesn't seem malicious whatsoever, but everybody takes it that way. So shout out, we'll see. And with that being said, that is your news wire right there, folks. Everything that was kind of going down. Last thing that we need to do is going to be a very important segment right here. It is going to be the rankings review. And today, AJ, we're going to be breaking down the 2 weight classes that matter the most that just got shooken up. It's the featherweight and the flyweight divisions. So, as we take a look, let's just remember UFC rankings, consensus on the left side of the screen, my rankings in the middle, AJ's rankings on the right side. Word on the street here, AJ, is that Ilia Topuria is going to be reigning over this division for many years to come, unless somebody is able to do something to stop the man, of course, right? So the question is, Volkanovski rematch, can he get it done? Is that in play? We'll see. That's yet to be determined. Max Holloway is really the biggest question mark because I have Brian Ortega here down at 7. Of course, he's ranked number 4 in the UFC consensus rankings. You have him at 6. We're kind of on par with where we have Brian Ortega. But since he beat Yair, and Yair is my 3rd, your 3rd, and the UFC consensus 3rd, he has now officially rejoined the top 3 right here. The question is, who is next for Ortega? Should he immediately get a shot with Ilia Topuria if they don't give it to Volkanovski? Or do we say, give him Movsar Evloev, Brian Ortega? That makes the most sense. Winner of that then gets to fight the champion, Ilia Topuria. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the Movsar pick a lot more, Derek. I think that would show who on the come up is going to be able to really make an impact on this one. The only other thing, because I do think Max Holloway deserves a shot against Ilia. And if we could see Volkanovski run it back with Ortega, and if Volkanovski can solidify the win he had against him, because that fight was very, very close, I think that makes a lot of moves. I do love the Movsar pick, though.
It drives me crazy, bro, just because when I'm looking at this and I'm looking at all the potential outcomes and how things can play out, I'm like, why are we stacking these divisions up to where it's just rematch, man? Like, literally, Topuria, Volkanovski, Holloway, Rodriguez, Arnold Allen, Josh Emmett, Brian Ortega, Calvin Kattar, Giga Chikadze, Bryce Mitchell. Like, literally, the top 10 is just like rematches after rematches, and that's not what you want to see. So I do think that we need to make a prediction. The prediction here is going to be what's going to be the run on Ilia Topuria's. I'm going to place a number, and you give me the over, or you give me the under. 2 years, title reign for Ilia Topuria, over and under.
Under.
Oh, okay, interesting. And if there's any candidate to dethrone him from that's listed in this top 15, what's the one you're giving the shot to?
Blessed, brother. Blessed Express all day long. I mean, we'll see how he looks in the BMF fight that's coming up. But if he looks good, he could drop down, get 2 belts on each, or 1 belt on each shoulder. He'll be looking nice.
I'm starting to think that this dude Movsar Evloev is just dark horsing his way up the division right now, man. Just because his style, Ilia has something for him, right, for the grappling department, but everybody else, I'm not sure. With the relentlessness, because every time I keep betting against him, and he keeps winning, bro. So it's like, clearly I'm off on my calculations right there. But all right, cool, man. That was the flyweight division. Now we move on over to that was the featherweight division. Now we move to the flyweight division. So as we can see, this was my 1 and my 2. Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval. 1 and 3 for the UFC, and then for you, this was 1 and 4 right there. So you gave a big gap to Brandon Royval, but I still respected him. Even after the Alexandre Pantoja loss, I just felt that Brandon Moreno was not champion, but kind of that Israel Adesanya Duplessis situation where it's like, or Adesanya when he beat Whitaker, where it was like Whitaker wasn't champ no more, but he was 1A or 1B, excuse me. It's like 1A Adesanya, 1B Whitaker. That's how I felt for Moreno, but now Royval has usurped him. So the question becomes, once again, nothing else makes sense to me other than give Amir Albazi a shot. Give the man a shot, please, right? Like, let's not do another rematch right here. Give him a shot. And then if he loses the shot, then we can rematch everything, right? You got Moreno, Royval, Cara France, the whole 9. Do you agree? Because you have Amir Albazi at number 2. You have him higher than I do. You're in consensus with the UFC right now. Do you think Albazi is the play?
Absolutely, Derek. Absolutely. And like you said on the last one, I'm tired of rematches happening in this one. Give somebody the shot that's been there for so long, just nipping at the ankles to try to get a shot at the championship. Now it's there. Now it's shook up. I'd like to see the fight.
I think so too. We'll see what happens because, again, they were putting stakes on it saying that the winner of this gets the title shot. If you're Pantoja, you're just laughing at everybody because you're like, listen, y'all are talking crazy, but I'm destroying all of y'all. Y'all cannot beat me, so whatever. It is what it is. And I think that Alexandre Pantoja, for whatever reason, is going to be one of those champions. If he can defend, again, he's going to be one of those champions that's like way under-respected for where he should be. This dude is so good, and for whatever reason, man, just doesn't seem to get the love that he deserves. But with that being said, that is your rankings review, folks. We made it to another outro. UFC Mexico. Again, controversial judging. It was interesting, right? It was an interesting event through and through. But with all that being said, we're going to be moving onward. So, AJ, I shared this with you. I'm going to share this with everybody because I think this is important, especially from a wagering perspective. Look to the past with forgiveness. Look to the future with with optimism and stay present within the present, something we can all practice, because just because you won or just because you lost has literally zero bearing or impact on what next week is going to be. And I don't know about you, AJ, but I like to make money. So we're here to get the best picks for you to rack it up. AJ, get us up out of here, brother.
Like Derick said, folks, we like to make money. We're looking to the future. Next week is going to be green raining down, so make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you share it with your friends. It's your favorite fighter's favorite fight show for a reason, and soon to be your favorite bettor's fight show for that exact same reason. We're putting money in your pockets week in and week out. We got the breakdowns. We're doing it like nobody else does. Make sure you don't miss the train, folks.
That's it. We are back to Vegas next week for UFC Vegas 87 or something like that. We'll talk about it then. Catch us on Friday for the pre-show. That's it for us, folks. Until next time. Peace.